I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't looking for anyone that night. I was 29. 3 years of a relationship had just ended. Quietly, without drama, they had simply run dry. And all I wanted was one glass of wine in a quiet place where no one knew my name. And then home to my cat Felix, who always pretended not to care, but always came to sleep beside me. Instead, I spent the entire night with a stranger. I don't know his last name. He doesn't know mine. We agreed on that in the first 20 minutes of our conversation. It was his idea, or mine. 2 years later, I honestly can't remember who suggested it first. What I remember is something else. The way he listened, genuinely, leaning his whole body slightly forward to every word I said. The way at 4 in the morning we stood on a bridge over a black river and he told me something, simply, precisely, that changed the way I think about myself. The way the early morning air smelled of cold and water and something I can't name. I still don't know his name, and I think about him every day. The bar was called Clara, small, unremarkable, on 5th Street, 3 blocks from my apartment. I had found it by accident 3 years earlier, stepped inside because it was raining, and since then I came here alone when I needed to be with myself. Not because the cocktail list was good, but because it was dark enough and quiet enough, and the bartender Peter never tried to talk if you didn't want to talk. That Friday, I arrived around 9. He was sitting on the stool next to mine at the bar. Dark jacket, not a coat, just a dark jacket, slightly worn at the elbows. A book lay nearby, closed, like he'd just stopped reading. A glass of whiskey, almost full, not drinking it, just keeping it nearby. He didn't look at me when I sat down, didn't try to talk, looked straight ahead with that expression I recognize when a person isn't sad about anything specific, just tired and in need of silence. That was the first sign that he was a normal person. I ordered a glass of red. Peter poured it. I looked at the reflection of the bar lights in the dark glass. "Bad day?" he said, not flirtatiously, not as an opening line following a known script, just asked. The way you ask, "Do you need a bag?" at a checkout, short and to the point. I looked at him. Dark eyes, maybe 35, possibly a little older. Something calm in his face, not indifferent, not absent, but calm, like people who aren't rushed by any of the things that rush most people. "Bad 3 years," I said. He nodded. "Fair enough," and went quiet. Didn't console, didn't ask what happened, didn't offer another drink, just fair enough. That, strangely, was what made me continue. "And you?" "Bad year," he said, "but not today." I looked at him. "Why not today?" He almost smiled, just barely. "Not sure yet, but I can feel it." We talked until midnight, then until 1. Then Peter started lifting the bar stools. "There's an all-night coffee place on the waterfront," said my companion. "Not an invitation, just information." "I know," I said. "I've been there." We walked out together, already in the coffee shop, warm, nearly empty, smelling of coffee and fresh bread. He suggested it. "Let's skip names," he said. "One night, just conversation, no numbers, no Instagram. This night and nothing else." I looked at him. "Why?" He thought about it. "Because it's easier to tell the truth to strangers. When there's no history, you don't have to maintain an image." I thought for a second. "Okay." And we talked about everything and nothing specific. About what we wanted to be as children. He, an astronomer. Me, a writer. Neither of us became that. "Is that okay?" I asked. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "Sometimes it seems fine, sometimes it doesn't." About loneliness, not the sad kind, but that specific kind that appears in a crowd, among people who know you, when you realize none of them actually know you. "Do you have that?" he asked. "Yes. Me too." I looked at him. The coffee shop was almost empty.
Rain outside the window. Quiet music. "It's strange," I said, "talking about things like this with someone I don't know." "You said strange, but not bad," he noted. "No, not bad." He nodded, like that was exactly what he had expected to hear. At some point, around 2 in the morning, I said I was afraid the best part of my life was already behind me. Didn't plan to say it, just said it. He was quiet for a long time. "How old are you?" he asked. 29. He looked at me with that expression that appears on people's faces when they want to say something important but are choosing their words. "The best part of your life isn't behind you," he said. "You're just not in the right place." "What do you mean?" "I mean literally. Not the right city, not the right job, not near the right people. You've spent 3 hours telling me about a life that doesn't fit you. You know this. You just haven't let yourself admit it out loud." I looked at him. "You don't know me." "No," he agreed. "But you've told me enough." Silence. "And you?" I asked. "Are you in the right place?" A long pause. "No," he said quietly. "Not yet. But I know where I want to be." "Where?" He smiled, genuinely, for the first time all evening. "Haven't figured out what to call it yet." We left the coffee shop around 3, walked along the waterfront. Cold October air, empty streets. The river below, dark, quiet, indifferent. We walked in silence, and that was comfortable too. It's remarkable how quickly you can get used to being silent beside someone. Usually it takes years, sometimes one night. On the bridge he stopped, leaned against the railing, looked at the water. I stood beside him. "Can I say something?" he asked. "Yes." "You're afraid, not of life, of a specific step, that if you leave, the new might be worse." I looked at the water. "Yes." "You know what the problem with that fear is?" "What?" "You already know your current life doesn't fit you. That's a fact. That's certain. What comes next is unknown. It might be worse, but it might also be better." He turned to me. "You're choosing a certain bad over a possible good, because certain feels safer." Silence. I knew he was right. With that specific kind of rightness that's unpleasant to acknowledge, because it demands action. "Who are you?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "A stranger, who sometimes says obvious things." We stood on the bridge for another hour, talked, was silent, watched the water. When it started to get light, a pale grey October dawn, we walked in opposite directions. Before leaving, he stopped. "Hey." I turned. "Leave," he said simply. "That life. You know where to go." I stood looking at him, at this stranger I hadn't known 3 hours ago, who spoke to me like he had known me for a long time. "And you?" I asked.
Honestly, this story really touched me. Sometimes a complete stranger can tell you something that none of the people closest to you have been able to say for years. And I think it's not even about him. It's about finally hearing the truth about yourself at exactly the moment you're ready to hear it.
He looked at me, long, seriously. "Me too," he said. "Soon." We parted. I walked home and thought about how that had been a strange night. Strange and necessary. Like sometimes life sends you exactly the person you weren't expecting, at exactly the moment when you need to hear exactly what you already knew but couldn't say to yourself. 3 months later I quit. I handed in my notice on a Monday morning. My colleagues were surprised. I wasn't. A month after that I sold most of my things, ended my lease, bought a one-way ticket to Lisbon. Felix came with me, in a special carrier with an offended expression, which turned into curiosity when we landed. It was terrifying, genuinely terrifying, on that specific morning when I closed the door of my old apartment and walked out with 2 suitcases. But it was the right kind of terror. Not the kind that says, stop. The kind that says, go, and don't look back. 2 years have passed. I live in Lisbon, a small apartment with a balcony overlooking the river. I work for myself. I write. Finally, I write. Felix sleeps in the chair by the window and pretends the river doesn't interest him. That life I was afraid to lose. I barely remember it. I think of it sometimes like another person's life, with affection, without longing. A month ago, I was sitting in a café on the waterfront, a warm October day. Here, October is different, sunny, with the smell of the sea. I was writing. My coffee was getting cold. At the table next to mine, a man. Dark jacket, slightly worn at the elbows. A book nearby, closed. I felt something before he even looked up. He looked at me. We looked at each other for a second, maybe 2. Then he smiled, genuinely, that quiet smile, and looked back down at his book. I didn't approach him. He didn't approach me. We both knew the rules. We had made them ourselves 2 years ago on a bridge. When I was leaving, I looked back. His table was empty. Or it seemed that way. I still don't know. But walking home along the river, I thought about what he said.
Leave. You know where to go. I left. And I think so did he. Or at least, I want to believe that.